Quite simply embarrassing. I don't really know what else to say about it, but it quite simply was embarrassing. West Ham got beat 5-0 by Fulham at Craven Cottage, and there's nothing really else to say about it. I've titled the show Five Things We Hated About the Loss, because coincidentally, we do a show on the channel that says Five Things We Loved About the Victory. And this one probably deserved it because it was written in the stars in the title in itself. Five Things We Hated About the Fulham 5-0 victory over West Ham. Embarrassing, and it was in an abundance. I can't really compute the situation, to be honest. I think I'm trying to put a level head on it. I'm trying to understand and dissect the result. Am I trying to make excuses? No. Are there excuses? Possibly. If there is a virus at the club, then that will impact the players. The players looked like there was something not right. You know, when Emerson came on at halftime, the first thing I said in my head was, he just doesn't look right. He does look unwell. And we really missed and we felt the absence of Alvarez in the middle of the park. But no one really could get going today. No one could really get going today. And I feel sorry for the fan base that went to the away games. You know, all these people spent a fortune going to see West Ham up and down the country. And when you get a performance like that, a lackluster performance like that, it's really shocking. I don't see performances like other people do. I don't see, or like some other do. You know, I was on with Nick from Claret and Booze last night, and I don't see football, all football, the way he sees it. And some fans are extremely different in their opinion of how football should be played. I want to see exciting football. Of course, I want to see exciting football, and that was not exciting. And it's not been exciting. Of course, it's not. No one can defend the fact that it's not been exciting. But again, it is a results business, but you can't defend that, because if it's a results business and you get smashed 5-0 away from home against Fulham, and no disrespect to Fulham, but we shouldn't be getting beat 5-0 away to Fulham, because that performance was not even as bad as the first half against Tottenham, where we were absolutely dominated. You know, we had 5 or 10 minutes in the first half against Fulham where we actually played okay football, but for some reason we just couldn't get into gear, and we allowed them to play ball, and we were allowing their players to run into the box and get unchallenged and unmarked, and I just couldn't understand it. And we made the first error. It didn't lead to a goal straight away, but we just kept doing the same thing. No one was marking our players from any angle. Players were running in from a deep lying position and getting through and penetrating our defence. And well before the ball even came in, at one point, Jimenez dropped in really deep, tipped the ball up over the top of our defenders, and it was like it was in slow motion. And Willian had ran from like 30 or 40 yards right through our defence, collected the ball, had a shot. Okay, it was saved, but you think, right, okay, that we got away with that one. Don't do it again. And we just done it again. And then we just done it again. And then we just done it again. And at one point, Iwobi had a messy moment and was running down the right-hand side, getting an inside out of our players, constantly going left, right, left, right, left, right. And the next minute was in our box, unchallenged. And then there was a back heel back into Iwobi again, inside the 18-yard box, unchallenged. Honestly, with all due respect, that game could have been a lot worse. And I don't know how you can get a lot worse than getting beat 5-0 by Fulham at Craven Cottage. I really don't know how you can, to be honest, because what concerns me is, as much as they've done well over the last couple of games, their defense is definitely problematic. Their keeper is problematic, and their defense has been problematic this season, and we never challenged them. I said before the game as well, I said, you've got two teams that have got good attacking setups. We can't take away from the fact that Fulham have definitely a good attacking setup. Willian's living his best life at the Craven Cottage just now. You know, he's coming back well into form. He's been such an influential player. Raul Jimenez, we all know what he's about. He's been given a bit of love. TLC, and he's kind of showing the best. There will be again TLC showing the best. We can't remotely take away and deny that Kearney's a quality player. I'm sure West Ham were linked to him at one point. I could be wrong, but I'm sure West Ham were linked to him at one point. And then Pereira in the middle of the park. Again, those three players, Polina, who West Ham were chasing, all dominant in the middle of the park. And you felt like it was going to be a battle of our forwards. But the thing is, we didn't really create anything. I think Jared Bowen had two clear-cut chances. He should have done a lot better. And that was really the way the day was going to go. Defensively, I can't picture what's going on at West Ham because I don't know how we can be so drastically different to where we were last year. A player that I love and think has got a bright future at West Ham, I'm starting to slightly doubt a little bit, and that is a Gerd. But equally, though, I'm doubting our central defence. I can't get my head around the fact that we can never get the happy medium. We can never get that balance of central defenders. We don't seem to have that solidified approach to our central defence. I'm concerned about our central defence because Moyes, and no matter who the manager has been trying to build upon a central defensive partnership that we've not been able to build for many a year. I don't think we've ever recovered from Winston Reid leaving the club. I don't think we've ever recovered from Ginger Collins leaving the club. Ginge, we've obviously not got Ogbonna. I think he was a struggle at the start. He got better the older he got. And we've never recovered from Craig Dawson leaving the club. We've never recovered from that situation. With all due respect, I don't think Dinos Mavropanos is going to be shouting, I'm not digging him out. I'm not digging out again. I'm not digging out Zuma. I'm not digging out Ogbonna, but it's just not good enough. It's really not. At one point, again, I think Fulham made a substitution, brought on Wilson, and the first touch he had was like an unbelievable, it was like a bird camp outside flick of the foot that got round Zuma, and Zuma took an age to turn and try and catch up with Wilson. By that point, the shot was off. Okay, Fabianski saved it again. I just don't understand where the slow and lack of ambition, lack of defensive duties, and if you come away from this game in particular, it's every game that we're having right now. I don't know what the change has been. I don't know what point we've gone, let's just give up on defending, because last year we were tough to score against. We just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. We couldn't take our chances. But this year, it's flipped. It's flipped to a certain extent, but we seem to be quite easy to score against. And I'm watching the game. You don't have to be a knowledgeable football pundit, a knowledgeable football person, or anything. Anyone could watch that game. My son could watch the game, and he's 7, and he could see that players were just like tearing through our defense. There's some big issue back there. I'm really concerned about our issue. Well, I'm also really concerned about the fact that we couldn't get a hold of the game today. Maybe there's an excuse that players were not at 100%. Maybe that's fine, all due respect, but there was still no points in the game that we really took control of it. We could get Kudos into the game. Paqueta's passing range has just become non-existent. You can't really string 2 passes together. And he seems to be reacting to that, and his head's dropping, and it's really having a negative impact. I can give a little bit of credit to Jared Bowen because I still think he tried to drop deep and try and collect the ball and win it. So did Kudos, but you can't really do it from the front line if there's only 2 of you really firing on all cylinders. And I think we struggled to get into the game at all. James Ward-Prowse couldn't find any of the ammunition that he had in the second half against Spurs. He couldn't even get anywhere near that level. Souček the same. Emerson came on the field at halftime and looked a distant memory of the performances he's been giving us this season. He did look unwell. He genuinely didn't look well. Creswell obviously got shipped off. I mean, I don't really know why he started, but who am I to question that? Sifal, again, struggled. And it's a really tough one, man. It's a tough one, innit? It really, really is. It's a tough one to take. But if you had to put something on it, 1 loss in 7. And I do think the next couple of games are key. I said it in the shows last night. I think it's about how you bounce back and how you react. And coming up against Freiburg in the Europa League, winning that game takes you top and qualifies you for the round of 16 in Europa League. That'd be a great achievement. And we need that positivity going into the Wolves game on Sunday. But you lose those 2 games and things don't look well. They don't look good, even though we've got points on the board. But you're coming into such a hefty period where if players are struggling with fevers, they're not going to have the legs. They're not going to have the energy. And they certainly didn't have that today. And it was embarrassing. No matter what, it was embarrassing. There was no defense of that situation today. There really isn't. Of yesterday, there was no defense whatsoever. I'm frustrated. I'm gutted. I'm disappointed. If I travelled, I'd have been absolutely devastated. Fortunately, for most of the fans that did travel, it would have been a long journey. There were still some people that went. I do know people that had travelled 4 or 5 hours. I do know someone else that travelled abroad to come to the game yesterday. And I said in the Matchday Live that at some points, fans deserve a refund. And I've seen some comments online where people saying you should never get a refund. Well, you should. You should, because if the players aren't at full force, if they're not playing at 100% and you get embarrassed like you did yesterday, then you should reward the fans by giving them a refund. It's as simple as that. They should get the refund. But that's my opinion. It's another conversation for another day. Anyway, join Rossi B as he'll give you the player ratings. That's going to be a joy to listen to. I'm assuming he'll just go on and have a chin wag as well. And we will now prepare for the Europa League Freiburg game, the big one, the one to see who's going to go top of the group and finish and qualify for the round of 16, or stay second and qualify for the round of the 32. Either way, West Ham are qualified through to the next round. We just want to skip one and get to round of 16 so we can focus solely on the Premier League and keep pushing our way up the league. Fortunately, our form this season has been all right and we're doing all right. You know, we've still got that gap of 5 points between us and 11th place, I believe it is. So long may that continue. And fingers crossed we can bounce back with a result against Freiburg and Wolves. I hope you're well. Take it easy. Come on, you're right.